This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email Marketing, and my guests plural, Andrew Bonar and Nely Bonar of Email Expert. I'm so happy to finally get the two of you on screen talking to me from Spain, if I'm not mistaken. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, welcome. You guys collectively together run run a global enterprise called Email Expert. Orient people. Tell people a bit about Email Expert.
So we were asked to come up with a description a couple of days ago because we're MarathonCon. I suppose we're a community of about 5,000 or so email experts, members either, it's free membership, but either through one of the professional groups. So we have some niche professional groups on places like LinkedIn and also on our own internal Slack channels. But across, the engineers, the designers, the developers, the marketers, and the CMOs, there's about 5,000 all up across all of the groups. Why did Email Expert start? Honestly, hand on heart, I wasn't trying to, be the doyen of email or anything, or try and, it wasn't for purely altruistic reasons. It was to try and establish my position in the space some 15 odd years ago, try and share some of my knowledge, give myself a platform to try and find clients, work, partnerships, associates and others. And it worked really, really well for me. And I ended up, being employed by Smart Focus and Campaign Monitor and others as a result of that, I feel it was a big driver for it. Nely came along and said, well, you've built the platform and you're not really using it as much as we could. And we could allow others to do exactly what you've done. It should be a launch pad for other people to be able to establish their space and give other people a platform and a voice. We do that through community events. We do email meetups. We do the actual in-person conferences and the hybrid events.
Yeah.
And also through trying to publish. Occasionally we do market reports and do some research, run some surveys through Google and other third parties and stuff, and try and pull that information together. And we'll do that kind of work with other ESPs and other people in the space. Really enjoying it. And it's been 2 years with Nely in charge, pushing me to still be the voice, but Nely's been in charge, and we've done some amazing things. So 13 years stagnating under my leadership, and 2 years of just doing a mental amount of things, and really bring my platform and community to another level. And I have to say, that's been under Nely's leadership, and she focuses on what she wants, has a lot of drive, and it's like, now's not the time to rest, Andrew. Let's get on and do this.
We need to talk about reinvention of the conference business post pandemic. But before we do that, I did want to hit the personal side of a little bit. Between the two of you, something like 8 languages you speak. I mean, Nely, you're like 5 or 6 languages yourself, right?
Oh, it's Nely.
We speak mostly English. Every day I speak 3 minimum languages. I speak Spanish now, English every day we speak with Andrew, and work, and Russian, because my family is
Russian.
Russian.
Okay.
From that area. So I speak Russian, Spanish, and English. And now that we having this conference in Spain, we work in now I speak in Spanish for work as well. So
wow. And then Andrew, Arabic on top of that for you?
Yeah, well, Nely, has basically pointed out the 3 languages that she's perfectly happy to have pretty much any kind of conversation in. But I also know that she'll quite happily pick up a conversation in German and Dutch and Turkish and a bunch of others as well.
I love languages.
That's really,
For me, I will crucify Arabic badly, but I will follow the conversation. Spanish, I struggle. I've not picked it up as quickly as Nely has, and obviously English. My French I have lost, but English and a little bit of Arabic.
That's something. I'm guilty of being like way too many Americans. English and not much else. British people tend to speak English and foul. Those are the two languages, and I list music as a second language, but that's about it. So my family are all multilingual, not nearly what you guys are, but I'm the laggard. So I have a lot of respect for it. It must be such an enabler for the global business you two run.
It helps, certainly helps. I mean, Nely has certainly helped us, open up markets that I couldn't have thought about previously. Yeah, I don't find that languages easy. So I know Arabic because that was my first language until I was like 5 or 6, and then
interesting.
School, and told you need to sort out the English because you can't speak it. And then again into remedial class probably when I was about 10 because my English was so poor. So yeah, and Spanish really has come. If we'd chosen to live in Barcelona or Madrid or anywhere else, I probably would have gotten away with being here for 5 years without speaking Spanish. But we live in a nice little medieval town, which is quite rural, and you're not going to find very many people that speak English. So yeah, you better learn to speak Spanish pretty quick, smart, at least enough to find your way around. Otherwise, you're going to be a little bit lonely.
And you had moved to said medieval rural town just shortly before everything started getting locked down, right?
Yeah. So we were probably there for about 10 months, a year, just in time to start making friends, start being invited. So Spanish people, at least in my experience, are a little reticent to invite you into their homes initially.
So but they do invite for paellas and stuff. It's very nice.
So once the invites start coming in, you're in. And we just got to that point where we're being invited to people's houses and being invited to the back garden paellas and come to the villa with us for the weekend and stuff. And then we got into lockdown, and we're just now trying to re-establish those relationships. Spanish has suffered obviously because we're not having those personal conversations. It's been really fun. It wasn't the worst place to be locked down. So because you had the 2-kilometer restriction or what have you, and we're right by the mountainside. Within 2 kilometers, we're actually in what was considered not municipal space, I suppose. So therefore, you're allowed to wander a little bit more. So we're able to do like walks up the mountain and just get some fresh air.
At least get outdoors, right?
There was actually a period of time when I didn't left house at all, and it was very sad. And recently I visited my family in Russia, and I realized that how important is socialize and be with people. So yeah, that's lockdowns is pretty hard and heavy on people. So we're looking forward to.
I mean, it was almost a double lockdown in some sense for you guys, having like just landed there. My family, the kids and my wife and I moved to the south of France in 2010 for 6 months in a small medieval village. So I've got at least a little feel for what that must have been like. It's like you make lifelong friends, but you're not going to make them overnight. It tends to be the pace of things, right? Yeah, and you add language, mutual language challenges on top of that, and it gets even more complicated. But nothing like actually being there.
When we came to check it out, we stayed with a hostelier, and I told him, like, I love this, and I think we're going to be settling here for quite some time. And he just like laughed it off. And I think it took him probably about 18 months from start taking it seriously. And now he sees us post-lockdown, and he's like, sit down, I'm buying you drinks. I can't believe it. You were actually serious when you said you fell in love with the place. And we're like, yeah. And he's like, but it only took you a week. And I was like, how long does it take for you to feel that something was right? Right.
Well, I mean, take that and segue to a bit of a business conversation, because we're in this, I think of it as a marvelous time where you can do something like, I think I'll go to a medieval village and live there and run a global enterprise. And the two of you are doing it. Wow. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It probably wouldn't have been. Everything's changing. And I think, we can use this opportunity for, I mean, I don't like the phrase build back better, and a lot of the hype that's around it, but, you know, as individuals, we can seize opportunities and try and make the best of a horrible situation. I mean, doubting the fact that it's horrible. A lot of positive can come from this. I mean, I've already seen it in virtual events, and, you know, the normalization of family. You know, if somebody walks in during a presentation and, Mummy, I've got, you know, this drawing that I did. Everyone loves it. Nobody's judging, and no one's going around saying, oh, hell no, that speaker isn't a professional because they have a child in their life. And I think I'd like to see that spill over into real world events. I think we're ready for some real change. So the event that we have coming up in December, we've said, look, please bring your wife, you know, your wife, your husband, your partner, your significant other, whoever it is. It's a safe space, and by all means, you know, if you want to bring family as well, and younger ones, or, you know, some people are talking about bringing their 18-year-olds or what have you. So there's going to be lots of extracurricular activities where you know, everything is going to be for everyone, but certainly everyone's welcome. And people are just so used to working with their family and having their family around. The idea of, you know, oh, I'm going to go away for a week and enjoy this amazing conference in this amazing location and leave my family behind. They're like, I'm going to do that. It's been working so well at home anyway. And then I was like, well, you know, and would you be able to facilitate? Would you be able to? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, they can't be coming in and sitting in the keynote presentations, but we've got an expo space, we've got a breakout area, we've got all the you know, the extracurricular stuff, and yeah, they're absolutely welcome to come along, and let's see how we can do things differently. And, you know, people want to make connections at these events, and you know, what better way of making a connection if you know, your partner is found something in common with somebody else's partner, or you're playing with each other, or what have you. That's what's going to make some real lifelong relationships, and the professional stuff will come of it as well. So we're excited to experiment in the space, and I think because of everything that's happening, we can get away with running a few of these little experiments and see what works and what people really take to.
Well, I mean, it's a bit inside baseball to talk about this, but you know, both of you, long time in the email industry, and I'm newer to this space, but I have to say it's the most collegial of many tech industries that I've worked in. Far and away the most collegial, inviting, mutually supportive, and so on. And if that's a model for, as you said, the personalization of business, giddy up, great. What a terrific change. The cold, impersonal, get on a plane, you know, fly someplace, spend days flying someplace for a 1-hour meeting. I'm glad that's gone. The complete disconnect, as you said, about, oh, I'll go meet these people and work with them for years, and they don't know if I have a wife or kids, or, you know, or a dog or whatever else. Like, could we reinvent this? And I think we'll all benefit. Much more relationship based.
That collegial atmosphere, you know, the email community being so warm and supportive of each other, and you know, open to experiment and ideas. I think I wouldn't try and run this experiment if I was doing a fintech conference, let's say. But I certainly think, you know, if it works in email, and, you know, that spreads to the other events, there's, you know, so many wonderful events in email, and I'm sure lots of them are coming back next year. If more of them start taking this on board, then I think it'll, you know, if it works, then other industries will start looking at, you know,
now I'm going back. I'm running the reel backwards a little bit, but as I recall, you guys had a conference scheduled that got stomped on by pandemic lockdown by a matter of just a month or two. Is that correct?
A week.
A week. That's right. And I remember I said relatively new to the industry, but I had signed up for the virtual side of the conference because there was no way for me to travel at the time. And then all of a sudden, snap! The whole thing is virtual, and you guys pulled it off. And I was just going, son of a gun! That was impressive and it was a great event.
Thank you. It's nice you attended.
Yeah, it was. We were incredibly lucky. As you said, we would really plan to do it hybrid. We already set that up. Admittedly, we had set up the idea of hybrid being a physical stage, 25 speakers on that stage, one camera, and doing it. So there was a fair bit to do over 4 days, but we can't take credit for that. I mean, there was 30, maybe 40 speakers for
80.
80 for the inaugural.
Yeah.
Okay, including panelists. So there was 80 people, and I think 78, maybe 77 of them turned around and said, okay, so what do we need to do? We need to test our webcams. We need to do these technical tests in the next 24 hours. And everyone pulled out all the stops, turned around and said, well, we were expecting to travel, and now we're not traveling. So instead of flying, we're going to be doing these tech tests with you, try and make this work. And yeah, with the help of the platform, shout out to Hopin, everything went really, really well. And we were really, really surprised at how well it went, because we were in a state of, I would say, shock. So we already signed the contracts. We signed the contracts, paid the invoices. We had invested everything in it, and 3 days before the event officially hadn't been declared a pandemic in the UK, Nely was the one who turned around and said, tell speakers not to come. I don't care if the UK is declaring a pandemic or not. 5 or 6 other countries have. And at this point, I don't want to be responsible for being a outbreak spot, a hotspot for COVID. I don't even know what you're talking about at this point, Nely. What are you talking about, us being a COVID outbreak? And she's like, moron, 80 people from around the world. Do you understand how they work?
But it was very stressful. It was very stressful because you take responsibilities, and you also try to follow so many news, so many medias, and you try to understand what is the right thing to do. But when we talk now, it's we also organizing a hybrid event, and it is different, I think, because time is past, and we got vaccinated. I don't know, it's very, I think it's all up to person, right? So if you I lost my
we're not looking to pressure anyone to come in person, and that's why we'll always plan to have it.
But there's an appetite. There's an appetite for coming in person. I mean, the first sort of re-emerging event you guys did in Miami, if I recall right, 5-6 months ago.
Yeah.
You had a ton of people go, yay, hop on a plane to Miami, right?
We got so much ourselves because it's so many people, and our friends and colleagues were there, and we couldn't go because of restrictions.
Sure.
But now that it's all open, so we hope, now we hope it will be in Valencia.
Yeah, bless the Department of Immigration in the United States. They basically said, organizing a conference in the US is not an essential reason to travel to the US. This whole thing could be done remotely, couldn't it? So that's how we had to do it again. And we definitely wanted to do an event in our own hometown where we're going to be on top of absolutely everything, which is where we've got to with this.
It's relatively easy for people who aren't in the conference business to forget that it is a business. But I have a friend who's a big wheel in the meeting industry, as he called it, and he told me once, 1 out of 3 people on a plane, this is probably 5, 6, 8 years ago, he said 1 out of 3 people on an airplane are on their way to or from a conference kind of event. He's like, this is actually a really big business when you start adding it up, and when you look at the role conferences and events play in businesses and industries, it's the linchpin of so many things. And so to have that change on a dime, and then now to be reinventing it as the two of you are doing for the niches you work in, that's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, we're trying. It's not without a serious amount of anxiety and stress, but things are we didn't know. So now, I mean, it's only been there was the whole imposter syndrome for a good 12 months. It's only in the last few months where I can say, no, I'm an event organizer, and actually have conversations with other professionals who are event organizers.
Yeah.
Feel like, no, I'm not faking this. I do this, and I can share stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, that's valuable to me, and I've been in this industry for 10 years. Okay, so I feel no longer feel that there's the imposter syndrome happening, but we're still new to it. Still learning. Every single event we learn something new. So we thought Valencia was perfect for a million reasons, and then found out a few key cities actually don't have direct flights. Note to self in future: check out the direct flights. There's just little things like that that obviously can only be gained as a result of having the events and made mistakes and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's challenging, but really really enjoyable. And the one thing I'd say that we didn't know when we joined, and now that we're reading like industry papers and industry research and all the rest of it, is the event organizers or conference organizers, when they grade the stress levels of different careers, it's actually just sitting below paramedic and above some surgeons and stuff. Firefighters are definitely above us. Police are above us.
And ambulances.
Special ops are above us.
High stress.
So yeah, I mean, we take it in our stride. I think on the most part, generally don't snap or melt down. I think that's probably one of the keys to it. And just being prepared for almost everything to be going wrong at every moment in time, and not showing that you're scared, and going, okay, we've got a plan B and a plan C for this. Let's just grin, bear it, and roll with it. The show must go on. But yeah, I love it. It really feels like, you know, it's entertainment, it's art, it's creativity, and also
community too.
Yeah.
Big deal.
And everything. So it's kind of feels like it makes use of all of our skills, Nely's skills, my skills, background, history. And as long as people are enjoying it, we'll keep doing it. As long as people keep supporting us, because every event, I mean, we're hand on heart, every event that we put on can bankrupt us, quite literally. And it's only with people's support that we're like, okay, we pulled it off yet again. Now let's do another one and try and make it better and even more engaging.
Yeah, well, kudos to you. That is it's a high wire act, and I'm not surprised to hear you say that the stress meter is pegged, because, you know, at the end of the day, you're really working with a collection of people, and all of our vagaries and idiosyncrasies and stupidities about decisions, you've got to coordinate and pull it off anyway.
And you know, sometimes I don't get it right. I don't do as much as I would like. So, you know, there's so much that, for example, speakers, they bring so much. And I'd really like to spend more time with every single speaker and let them know, you know, absolutely how much I appreciate what they've done, what they've given, and what they've brought to the conference, more than like a quick post on LinkedIn or Twitter or an email. But when you're dealing with 130 speakers and there's only 2 of us, it's really, really hard. So I'm really grateful for those speakers and panelists who, when I ping them on LinkedIn and realize, hell, the last time I spoke to you was, you're on stage in 5 minutes, and I haven't spoken to you since. And now I'm reaching out again saying, like, would you like to be speaking? I'm always humbled by the fact that they're even willing to reply. Never mind, replying affirmative. I can imagine myself 15 years ago being a little bit, as we say in Spain, chulo, and I would have been offended if some event organizers hadn't been super lovely to me afterwards, and really buttered me up. And I'm so glad that people aren't as arsy as I was 15 years ago, and we're all much more humble. But it feels like a 3D jigsaw puzzle all the time. You know, or cash flow or speakers, or okay, we can't have these 2 speakers because they're going to clash. I don't want to say no to her or him. I absolutely want them on stage, but how do we do this and do it diplomatically? There's a fair bit of diplomacy, because we love all of our speakers and we appreciate all of them, but we also understand that there are sometimes there's conflicting interests and things, and work through those.
Now that the experience that helps you make the 3D jigsaw puzzle work, I have to guess that that's mostly in your 2 heads. That's a very hard thing to capture systematically.
We hired 3 people last time to help us with stuff. I mean, more than 3 people, but 3 people specifically with, okay, let's try and like organize the speakers and the delegates and get information out. They couldn't, and it wasn't their fault at all. I mean, they got paid for the work they did, but we couldn't get it all out of our heads in time for them to actually meaningfully do anything. And they're like, okay, right, now we understand how you work. Next time, maybe we can be productive. Maybe you could share this piece of information much earlier, Andrew. And I'm like, I didn't really think it was important. No, that would have been really helpful. And we could have done X, Y, and Z. Like, okay, all you wanted them to do was tech, but because everything's in my head. And like, we can't do the tech tests until, you know, Steve has agreed that he's available for the tech tests. And then there's other people that are like, I need to have it done now. And you can't, I mean, we aren't the most, we don't have a template. So we're not one of the big conference organizers that have done this for 20 years. So we don't have a template that we work to. We don't have, okay, you know, loads of check boxes. We have an overall plan that is constantly in flux and constantly changing, but we're not maybe as bullet point organized as people that have been doing this for 30 years. So sympathy for those that go through this learning curve with us. I think the output is something a little bit different, and people, you know, the delegates like it, and I think it's just a bit different. It's just a bit different. It's not necessarily as positive as others.
I would hazard a guess that the fact that you didn't have everything templated out will turn out to be an enormous advantage in this reinvention period, because the template that everyone was using 3 or 4 years ago, I happen to have a really close friend who had built a conference business. He had sold it about 9 months before the pandemic hit. So like, woo, good for you. But watching him refine the model and how sort of notebook driven and process driven it all was, I thought that would have been tear it up and throw it away, honestly. And you don't have a tear it up and throw it away problem. You've got an opportunity to start systematizing what's between your ears and adjust to the new times, right? We're not hybrid events. See if you agree with me. Hybrid events aren't going to go away.
No, there's going to be people. You know, people are asking. People are prepared to pay for them. I think we didn't have hybrid events earlier because conference organizers were really worried that, well, no one's going to turn up to the event if they can watch it online. I think it was true then. And I definitely don't think it's true today. I think there are people that want to be there in person, and turning around and saying you can view it online and there's, you know, some virtual networking opportunities and stuff is not going to be enough to satisfy the person that wants to be there. And then there are others that cannot make it, that want to make it, and I think it's the right thing to do. It allows for you to provide more accessibility, and not necessarily in terms of the audio or the video, but accessible to people from disadvantaged backgrounds, from other places. I mean, it's all well and good organizing a conference in, you know, Atlanta and inviting people from the East and West Coast. About those people in Europe that would also really, you know, value from hearing from these people. It's not right to our speakers, I don't think, to limit, you know, the potential audience for the message that they want to deliver, unless the speaker turns around and says, you know, this isn't for broadcasting live, this is this is my keynote that I need to protect for the next 6 months because I'm delivering in a few other places. Then I feel our job is to try and get their presentation seen as widely as possible. That's, you know, our quid pro quo in this whole thing is making sure that we can get you as wide an audience as possible, and hybrid is a big part of that. And people just expect it. There's we're still, you know, we're still finding our way. You know, there's been a few interesting events doing some what's the word, fun stuff, different things. So, you know, we had the virtual 3D world, one of the vendors did, another vendor did a great conference where there was a lot of green screen usage and stuff. So people are experimenting with the medium and coming up with different things, and it's interesting to see where that will go. We're always keen to see, like, how do we actually mesh more and truly make it hybrid. So we've got some ideas for this event in Valencia, so we're hoping that we can take hybrid to, you know, the next level. We're going to be encouraging the delegates to, you know, have the app on their phone and be using it and interacting in the chat room in text. We'll be broadcasting the chat room the virtual chat room to the main stage so everyone can see everything that's being said.
Yeah.
So speakers can see questions that are being posed by the virtual speakers. And then we're going to have, we're going to be encouraging a networking session where the people in person are going to be using the iPads or what have you to be networking with people that aren't there, so that you actually have this hybrid experience, not just we're live and we're broadcasting it online, and you guys online can also have your networking, and you folks can meet with each other and do everything and watch everything, but you're kind of like separate. You're this class B citizen. We don't want that. We want it to be
Yes, and making the experience hybrid for the people who are there as well, as opposed to it's a normal conference and there are other people watching it from afar, and those are two completely separate groups, right? Because all of that informal connecting, relationship building, knowledge sharing, all of the stuff that happens around the edges, that's actually the heart of a good conference. It's hard to pick up and make portable. Very hard. Yeah.
So the 5 minute or the 4 minute speed dating, speed networking that we have, would work with the people in person. I'm really keen to just like 20 minutes. We're going to be doing speed dating. You might be matched with someone that's in the room. You might be matched with somebody that's outside the room.
Interesting.
But with 100 people in the room and over 1,000 people online, you're a little bit silly to not try and take the opportunity of meeting those other people that are there online.
It's gonna be a wild time. So let's focus in on the upcoming event, Inbox Expo. It's happening. Dates?
December 14th through the 16th in Valencia. 14th is a networking and orientation day. Lots of people coming from all over the world. So we've had people from Japan, North America, and Europe coming. So some of those people, will want some help with phone cards, internet connections. How do I get here? How do I get there? And what have you? There's a few people that are using it as their winter, summer sun vacation. So they're coming out for more than a few days. So they'll want help, but there will be, the networking, reception, VIP dinners, and beer and canyan tapas in the afternoon. So lots of opportunity to get to know each other and get some networking done before the plenaries and the keynotes and the panels, because I think people are really keen to get that done, and as much as they want to take away learning lessons from the presentations, they're also really keen to tap elbows and start communicating with people again. And we'd like them to have that opportunity day one before you even go into the sessions. Like get to know people that are there. It should make it easier. What we've found at other conferences that we've attended, day one, people maybe aren't asking questions. Day two of the conference, they're asking questions because they've made contacts now and they're feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident.
Oh, interesting.
Comfortable and confident before we even start. So we're all friends here. So, you don't have to worry about putting up your hand. No one's going to judge you. Everything's cool. And then, the format of the events, we've got two physical spaces. We've got the presentation, the live stage, and then a second space that we're calling, for want of a better word, the Expo area. And it's not really an Expo area because it's a co-working space, because there's going to be lots of execs that need to catch up on their work. So that's available all day upstairs. And there's working group areas of people. So there's going to be some really geeky engineering type conversations happening.
Good.
And it's not a presentation as such. It's just going to be more of an interactive thing. We need a whiteboard. We need a flip chart. We need to be able to work through some ideas here.
Interesting.
And a lot of, over the 15th and the 16th in the afternoon and the evening, lots of extracurricular activities. So whether that's going shopping, seeing something cultural, going to one of the art shows. There's a few really good art shows that are on.
There's expos going on.
And there's also on the 16th, the Expo, as Nely pointed out. So Valencia Expo. So there's a couple of thousand Spanish high-tech startups, and we're going to do for those that are interested, we're going to hire a couple of translators and a bus, take them down there for a couple of hours so they can go around and see that. Some people are keen to just come to Inbox Expo and they're happy with a handful of cards and really good contacts, and others are like, to get the justification to come out from North America, I really need to come back with at least 100, 150 business cards. You
Right.
can do that. We can take you to the Expo. There's 2,000 people there. I can't guarantee the quality or whether your target market, but if you're into card collecting, we can certainly do that. We can help facilitate that. But it should be interesting. It should be fun. But it's Spanish language, so yeah, I think the translators will help. Although there'll be lots of people who understand that can speak English. So yeah, we're trying to try and create a event, so it's not just a conference. So minimum 8 to 10 hours of keynotes and panels over the 2 days. There'll be another 6 to 8 hours of optional breakout working groups or small panel meetings. There'll be breakfast seminars that are very niche, so depending on what your niche is, whether you're interested in email design or not. If you're not interested in email design, maybe not worth your time spending an hour and a half listening to someone talk about how to do crazy, wild, interactive things using just CSS.
Right.
We really want to have multiple tracks running alongside each other, because the other thing is one of the few events where you will find senior people from big MVP, big mailbox providers. You'll find engineers and others from Comcast, from Yahoo, from AOL, from a whole bunch of these providers. You will find them there, but you will also find CMOs, head of CDP, head of CRM, from big brand sites, and you generally tend to find at least 4 or 5 people from pretty much every email marketing vendor that there and present. And it's one of the few places where everyone feels comfortable. Everyone knows you need to be respectful. You understand that you may have an issue with this org because of the volume of mail that they're sending and maybe the quality of it or what have you. I mean, you can have that discussion, but in a respectful way, and vice versa. And people feel relatively safe, I think, and comfortable doing that. We haven't had to shut down chat rooms or boot anyone out. We have taken people into private and said, like, it's not really how we like to conduct conversations here at Inbox Expo. But everyone's been really, really receptive to that. And I think, just being respectful and having those conversations is way better than people just being mad with each other for months without ever actually turning around and going, hey, this is why we have a problem. I didn't realize we were even doing that. We might be able to fix that. And it's a lot easier to do it when you're face to face, even virtually on Zoom, and you're actually having to look someone in the eye who's willing to say, like, this is what we have the issue with, or this is what we think we should change. And some of those conversations do happen in the chat rooms, and pretty proud of that. But
really start building that out of relationship instead of out of whatever agenda. Email is I mean, it's old enough, pervasive technology in so many nations. I mean, you're inherently international. Any attendees from your nation of origin, Nely? Any Russian participation?
Yes, actually, Inbox Expo Spring Edition, I brought some Russian background from Russia, some companies. Sorry, I just get nervous, and then yes. So yeah, and I do like I like community, and I like that it's a lot of different people, and they're all together, and they can talk and come up with some solution and have a discussion. And it's so far what I've been following. I've been doing email expert blog. We have the event section there, and yes, I've been looking for how diverse it gets, and unfortunately it doesn't. And I was wondering myself, do people, for example, from Kazakhstan, do they use email? Do they have, but there is the same, like, can we find some speakers from there? And I was trying to find, like, from some countries where you don't, I don't know, where you don't usually hear much. I wonder what they do, what they use, how they doing business, because there is also money, there is also people. So yeah, they are our listeners as well. And more than
you did a good job. I mean, you brought Email Soldiers and a couple of other agencies.
Oh, cool.
Like Burger King and L'Oreal and others in Russia. So
I also got, we have one of our speaker. He is actually, we working other project when we used to live in Australia, and yeah, we got, do you remember Rob? And he's not email user. He doesn't like use email in his company.
Rob from the Arab Radio Network, and he's really brilliant. So he's a digital marketer who doesn't believe in email, doesn't believe email works in the Middle East. And so that was a really good conversation where, very respectful, and just turning around and saying, email's dead though, isn't it? And I think it was Samar and a couple of other people like, hell no, it's not dead. And by the end of it, it's like, okay, somebody can give us a call and let's talk about where email might fit into the Arab Radio Network and how we do things in future. But yeah, he came on with a definite, email's dead and there is no place for it in radio.
Fascinating.
By the end of the conversation, it's like, well, maybe okay. Yeah,
maybe okay.
Good points. Yeah.
So if Rob you're watching, we're looking forward to have you again for this conversation.
Yeah.
Rob, come in person. He's great energy and like Nely said, yes, sometimes inviting people from other regions might mean that they're not necessarily as hot on email as others, but definitely an interesting perspective and one worth hearing. And it's good to have debate. That's what I miss. That's what I really miss at the events and I want to see more of is more debate. So there was, going back 10 years ago, there was a lot of debate at email conferences. I think maybe some of them got a little bit too hairy or something, and organizers have moved away from debate, and we have very nice panels where, we make sure that people are aligned.
That everybody agrees.
Yeah, I would like to see
That's
more.
boring. Yeah, it's boring.
Friendly, professional, but disagreement, there's no reason why we can't debate something else.
Because Zoom is predictable. Like you have specific type how you scenario in a Zoom, and if it goes you're like, oh, and then when in person you actually can have a conversation and laugh, and then it's kind of not like
a little bit easier to have disagreement in person than it is virtually, maybe.
Well, one of the roles that Zoom, Google Meet, etc. One of the roles that video connecting over video has sort of popped up and filled during this readjustment and reinvention period of the pandemic is a very agenda-driven channel, right? Oh, hey, let's schedule a Zoom call. Why? Because we're going to discuss this, this, and this. So, like, there's this agenda on the thing. It's kind of what you're saying. And, like, it's not, let's get on a Zoom call and we have no idea what we're going to talk about. That rarely happens. So you don't end up with those opportunities for mutual learning via contention and disagreement or agreement or whatever. It's always we got to get through, the agenda. I'm on this call for this reason. You're on the call for that reason. Hopefully we'll get to there. I'm not saying that's bad, but it's not the same thing as that opportunity to sort of knock against each other. And it's hard to make this channel do that job. I have noticed that some of the informal conversations that happen repetitively, and I'm thinking specifically of the Only Influencers Thursday call that Gene Jennings hosts in the email industry. Like, there are enough people who are on there often enough where it turns into casual conversation, which has a whole richness that agenda conversation doesn't have. So if you can it sounds like you're really trying to engineer bringing that to Inbox Expo, which is wonderful.
Over-engineering it, yes.
Over-engineering, yeah, wonderful. Not an easy challenge either, but wonderful nonetheless. Yeah, wow, good for you. Now, we talked about email a bunch, but you're starting to connect the inbox to messaging and other forms a bit as well?
Yeah, we had a long talk when it came to naming Inbox Expo, and we had probably 5-6 other great names, potential on the table. We went with Inbox because email's not dead and it's never dying. But we do see the people responsible for email becoming more and more increasingly responsible for the other messaging channels, whether that's SMS, bots, or other things. And a lot of the security aspects, the engineering aspects will be similar for that. So yeah, Inbox Expo will be evolving into a messaging conference, firmly with email at the heart of it. But come next year, we would not be averse to someone talking about, how SMS and email work together, omni-channel, and the other opportunities are. But for us, Inbox, and for me, I think a post that maybe never got published or got deleted shortly after it was published, it caused so much ruckus at the time. I think, I said email isn't necessarily this POP3 SMTP thing that we think about being email. For me, email is any electronic message that I'm receiving, and once it's coming into my phone, that's an email. And really, it's an electronic mail message. Some are behind walled gardens. Some, you have to be in WhatsApp to get these messages, or you have to be on Facebook to get these messages, or, we've got the wonderful, fantastic email, which is open and ubiquitous and everyone can use it, and it's not a walled garden. But there are also, valid reasons for using those messaging systems and inboxes in walled gardens. I think pretty much everyone calls their messenger inbox their inbox. I don't know if anyone calls it anything different. And so I really think messaging in general and email will always be a big driver behind that. And there's other things happening in email that I haven't even got my head around, but there are, as the IoT, the Internet of Things starts becoming more and more of a reality, emails being used an awful lot there. No humans involved, messages, machines to machines, but they're using email or something very, very similar to pass those messages backwards and forwards. And all of those things are things I think we'd like to see Inbox Expo embrace as time goes on.
Nice. I don't know if it'd be possible or not, and maybe not this go round, but at one of your future conferences, a conversation about privacy, a conversation about the differences in how we're tackling privacy questions in different areas, different nation states, and so on. That would be a great hammers and tongs, not everybody agrees conversation to tee up, because it's becoming a driver of a lot of things, a lot of changes. And I'm thinking obviously at the moment of Apple's move that has forced change on the technology side of the industry. But we shouldn't let the larger digital monopolies make decisions carte blanche, right?
Absolutely. And I've had this conversation, I think, maybe on our Only Influencers, or maybe one of Kath Kay's meetups. But I said before Apple did what they did, and when Hey.com came out and said, what we're doing, I said, it's our fault. I mean, we didn't address this. We kept saying it's not important, it doesn't matter, and it matters to people, because ask your mum if she knows that you can tell when someone opened, somebody read the message. No, I didn't, and I don't like that.
Right.
Okay. And if you report spam, did you know that goes back to the person that sent you the spam? Hell no, I didn't know that, and definitely didn't want that to happen.
Right.
Okay. We need to be a little bit more transparent with the users about what we're doing with the data and the information and everything else. And even then people were like, yeah, Andrew, but it's not nefarious. It's not nefarious. I'm like, okay, it's not nefarious. Let's explain it, and give them a good reason why you're doing it. But in most instances, I know we're collecting a bunch of data we never use, and that's kind of nefarious because it's an attack vector. It's there's a potential for somebody else to get that info, and why do we store data that we don't need to have? Is another conversation I think. No, but I just, it's becoming unexpectedly, perhaps it's becoming the friction point for policy decisions. Like we're saying, okay,
20 odd years of let's wire the world together and make it all digital. Okay, hang on. Some things have gone too far, and now we need to start defining some boundaries and controls because we need some shape to the world that we can manage and live in and feel like we've got some control over, right? My mom, my wife does not want to hear, I know when you open an email. It bothers them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And rightly so.
And I remember working at a big enterprise organ email, and the head of support there turned around and said, you know what? I was like, why are you never stressed? I mean, it was a huge enterprise org. And I was like, why are you never stressed? You've got 240 people running support for a global enterprise. Everyone's always complaining that, their campaign's not gone out, or it's stuck, or it's this, or that. And you always just seem like just very zen. And how do you achieve it? And he's like, well, you know what I did before this, don't you? And I was like, no. He's like, well, I was the head of the call center for emergency medical insurance. And there I was having calls with people going like, no, your child's not covered and we can't pay for this operation. And he's like, and that was life and death decisions. This is email. It's not the same thing. And so, there's no way I'm ever going to allow myself to feel the kind of emotion or stress or things that I dealt with when dealing with life or death decisions. There is no one dying because of email. And I remember that was shortly before Arab Spring, and then Arab Spring came up, and we remember one of the clients was like an NGO, and they just wrote and said, could you scrub absolutely everything, every subscriber, every bit of detail you have for absolutely everything? We're really scared that somebody might breach our systems, get into your
system. It is life and death,
And he was like, we're back to life and death scenarios, are we? And I thought I was dealing with email. And the same with the events. Nely's always like, this is people's lives, this is health, so we try and be a little bit respectful and careful about how we do things and what we do, and realizing that maybe it isn't there is quite a serious
there's quite as we enthusiastically move more and more of our lives online, more and more of our lives are online, right? So that's vulnerable, that's risky, that's valuable, that's something we should protect and care about, and all of those things. It's we're not done with this yet, are we? This reinvention moment.
Going to be a big topic of conversation and tracking, and whether it's zero party data, first party data, whatever that argument is. And I'm not going to that, but I think that's another discussion that would be good to have, and see what is the difference? Is there a difference? I know that there's a lot of people sitting on the zero party data side of things, and other people going like, no, it's nonsense. It would be good to have that chat.
And to help, frankly, to help people discuss these issues. How do I say this nicely? Help people actually discuss these issues substantively rather than just showing off their knowledge of labels.
There's a lot of
posturing.
Just wanting to position yourself in a certain space. It doesn't add anything to the conversation, and it doesn't help anyone. And I think, sometimes, or certainly worked for me, sometimes just being humble and going like, look, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if this is the right way, but this is the way I think about things, and this is the way I would approach it. Or there's 5 different ways to crack this nut, and mine's not the only one. That has, won me lots of business over the years, and not, being blinkered and going, there's only one way that we can do this and do it right. Actually, no, I need to find out a lot more about what your concerns are and what's driving your business, and what's the most important thing to you, because I can't come to this with
here's an on the fly notion for a future panel. It just occurred to me because you come from because you come from multiple countries, sort of, Nely. Nations are handling privacy and technical and digital issues differently enough, where that in itself, it's hard to keep track of, but having someone who's firmly on the side of here's how we're doing things in the EU, here's how we're doing things in the US, here's how we're doing things in Russia, because they're not the same. And the differences are becoming bigger and bigger. We're sort of fracturing into internets, plural, which is a big deal for the industries that we work in. And man, it'd be fun to hear people defend or attack the different ways we're going about this. I mean, I hate to say I'd almost want someone talking from the point of view of China, where it's much more draconian and state driven. But you know what? Hey, they got a point of view and a billion and a half people.
I was about to say exactly that. So, I would be interested. It would be interesting to also, a similar thing would be, the perceptions of what is good mail, what's permission-based mail, what is spam.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and China, as a perfect example, is a great example of that. So, one of the world's largest retailers, I took out to China to meet with 3 of the postmasters out there. And this is a huge retailer. Everyone knows, everyone uses, everyone spends money with them every month. And ask anyone in America, are they spammers? The answer's gonna be like, no. I buy stuff, they send me suggestions, all the rest of it. They've got one of the best email marketing programs we've ever known, and they're, some of the stuff that they do with abandoned carts is just amazing. Ask that same question to the Chinese postmasters, and we're like, well, they're the biggest spammers we know. And I'm like, well, how did you come to that? And they're like, well, we're not even customers, and you send emails. And you're like, well, whoa, what do you mean not customers? And the client was there going, what do you mean not customers? We don't send an email to anyone who's not a customer. They buy once off you, that counts as a customer? Yes. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. They had a need for something and they bought it off you.
Yeah.
They come 2 or 3 times. Now they're your customer.
Yeah.
The faces were just like, well, we've never looked at it like that.
Right.
So those cultural differences would be really interesting. And
they would be.
What can we take away from that? And well, hold on a minute. Maybe we do not need to think about actually they're a casual purchaser and this person's actually a client. This person's a fan. And I don't know how many, I know more sophisticated marketers are doing it. But certainly that was probably the first time this massive retailer turned around and went, actually, let's start segmenting our customers. And are they customers? And yet we need to be a lot more aggressive in Southeast Asia than we are in North America, because the appetite for email is much bigger in North America. But yeah, again, just turning around and showing his laptop and going, look, there's my inbox for today. It doesn't look like your inbox. I've got 28 messages. Why are 5 of them from you?
Right.
Nobody, and if the local brands aren't sending everything on WeChat and only sending out once a month a newsletter by email, then you're going to kind of stick out like a sore thumb if you're sending out every 2 or 3 days, and the postmaster's going to remember you. And it's just like, why are they emailing me? And oh yeah, I did buy X, Y, or Z a month ago. I completely forgot that. But I really don't consider myself a customer. I just needed something that you happen to have. So yeah, I think we've been trying really hard. I say trying really hard. I think it just naturally happens. I'm British, not by by passport, but I was born overseas. Nely again, overseas, and so we've got quite an international network. We connect with people regardless of their background. So we tend to have quite diverse speakers, and panels, and people, and not necessarily by design. So, where we do hold ourselves in check is where we, if we're comping people, if we're comping speakers, any kind of benefits and stuff, then hold on a minute, let's make sure that, we're offering as many, women this opportunity as we are men. Let's make sure we're offering this opportunity to as many people that aren't new or what have you, or from disadvantaged backgrounds as we are to the others. That's also a lot harder. I can offer, free entry to somebody from North America in a senior position, and that's enough for them to go, okay, yeah, I'll pick up all the rest of the expenses. But to be able to make that same offer to somebody maybe in a smaller location, region, Romania or Hungary or what have you, actually, there's no way I could ever afford to pay for the tickets. Hold on, at this point, maybe we need to look at this person, finding an extra 300 or 400 euros to make this happen. So that's where we, try and put a bit of effort into into making sure it's diverse. But as far as, you know, reaching out to speakers and stuff, we reach out to them because of what they've got to say and what they bring to the table. If, you know, we suddenly look at the page and go, what's happened here? You know, we've just got 8 white faces, 8 white old men sat on the page. Actually, we need to go back and chase up, you know, some of the others. The other thing is, it's a different conversation for another time. I think, it's sometimes it's hard to get the people that you really want to speak, because they're mums, they're busy, they're running their careers, they're doing all of this stuff, and then asking them to take 5 days out to come to a conference.
Yeah.
Are you completely out of your mind? I am running here. Yes, I'm running a business enterprise, and I'm also running the family enterprise.
Yeah.
It takes equal amounts of time. And I'm not saying men aren't doing that. There are men that are, but there's a lot more men that I turn around and go, oh yeah, I'll leave the family at home. It doesn't make any difference. I'm ready to go. And, you know, without even thinking about it. Whereas, and it's not every man, but almost every woman I've ever spoken to has turned around and gone, I'll need to go back and work out how this fits in with, you know, everything else that I've got on. But yeah, there's men in privileged positions that can just go, yeah, I'm there.
Well, everyone are welcome. We will be waiting for you. Who can't afford, we will be streaming online, hopefully. Right?
Yeah, and that's another thing. I mean, if you cut, I mean, we are priced to try and break even. Like I said, we just don't want to go bankrupt. But if you can't afford to come, if you can afford to make it in person, but you know, couldn't afford the ticket, or you want to join virtually, but you know, $60 is too much. As much as we think that's a really, really fair and reasonable price, it is too much for some people, and we accept that. Just email us. Nobody is going to be told you can't come in because you can't afford it.
That's a wonderful approach. And I'm looking at the clock. I've tied up an hour and a quarter for you guys. That's actually a wonderful note to wrap up on. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this event, and I'm so impressed that you're pulling it off, as I think you said this morning. Like last opportunity for a conference in 2021, you're going to pull it off in 2021.
Yeah, touch wood.
Go ahead, Nelly.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really, really love it. You were at Inbox Expo Spring, and you were amazing.
Most welcome. Yeah. Subjects that you're interested in are easy to talk about, right? That's it. Well, let's wrap on that, and then we'll turn this into video and hopefully help more people know about Inbox Expo and the other things that you guys pull together. I think you're going to be very successful with this. I really do. It's really impressive to watch.
Really appreciate the opportunity to chat.
Cool. Well, my guests today have been Andrew Bonar and Nely Bonar, email expert in Inbox Expo.